Okay, so now we are going to focus on cloud service types. I already mentioned this is the most important module of the first learning path. So let's get it started. Now in this module, we are going to focus on describing three services of the cloud service part, and that is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. We are going to describe the shared responsibility model, which is technically talking about what differences are there in between these three services, which is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. And then we are also going to identify the appropriate use cases for each cloud service so that you get the answer of this question, that when should I use which kind of a cloud service type. Let's start with infrastructure as a service. Now, as the name suggests, this is the cloud service type which is going to provide infrastructure kind of resources to you. I think when you use the word infrastructure, it is all about your servers and storage, your networking, or whatever security related network configuration you need. And then it is also going to be thinking like when you have to use your physical data center or infrastructure, which maybe have thousands of racks inside that. Now guys, those who are not familiar with the word data center is that physical infrastructure which is used by most of the cloud providers, and most of the time when we talk about Microsoft Azure Cloud, we have hundreds of data centers across the globe. When you're talking about infrastructure as a service, you have to think global in terms of cloud, because cloud is providing a huge amount of infrastructure to you and the networking and storage services to you over the internet. And then when you are using them, no matter where you are located, you can use them by just configuring certain configurational clicks on your Azure portal. This infrastructure they are providing to you as a service, and that's the reason the understanding the infrastructure architecture of cloud is very important. In order to understand this infrastructure power of the Microsoft Azure Cloud, I want you to visit this website link, which is datacenters.microsoft.com. This gives you a clear understanding of what a Microsoft data center is all about. If you explore this section, which is learning about Azure regions, this is going to give you that Microsoft Azure is having a global infrastructure across the globe. When you load this particular link, it is going to show you a world map where you have different countries and cities located, and it's also highlighting the areas where Microsoft is having their data center regions. Now for your kind of information, right now, let me switch back to the map mode. I do not like globe. This is a world map where I can see different dots. Let me get rid of most of them so that you understand the important terminologies right now. As of now, I'm just selecting two things from that, which is regions and WAN links. When I select these two things, you can see right now in this world map, each blue dot which you're able to see is actually one Azure region. Whenever you're going to create any resource in Azure portal, the first obvious question they are going to ask you is which region you would like to choose for that. No matter you create virtual machine or database or application, they'll ask you which region you would like to choose to deploy this kind of resources. Now each region here is a physical location. Like if I select the region East US, this is one region where Microsoft is going to have one or more data centers. Remember, not only one, there are chances in one region you can have 3 data centers also. Like East US is one region which is located in Virginia. They have 3 zones, which means they have 3 physical data centers available in that. Same way, if I go to some other regions, like maybe I'm going to choose Germany West Central. It is located in Frankfurt, and that is also having 3 different zones available in that, which means they have 3 data centers in that. Keeping in mind, one data center is equivalent to a 10-story or 15-story building is going to be that big, and this kind of 3 data centers are going to be there. If I look at some Asia Pacific regions like India, we have region which is Central India, which is available with the 3 zones, means 3 data centers inside that, while we also have South India, which is located in the city called Chennai, and they have only 1 data center there. That's the reason it is mentioned that the nearest region with 3 zones is Central India. All these regions of Azure cloud are going to have either 1 data center or 3 data centers inside them. It's also announced by Microsoft that very soon they are going to have all the regions with at least 3 data centers in that. Well, the time is not far, but as of now, you can understand that when you say cloud infrastructure, this is the cloud infrastructure of Microsoft Azure Cloud, which is spread across everywhere. These lines which you're able to see right now are undersea fiber optic cables using which they have connected this huge infrastructure. That's one of the reasons you can reach out to your resources deployed in a particular Azure data center region. You can manage it from anywhere. And that's also one of the reasons when you have a big disasters coming like earthquake or some other natural disasters, you can replicate your data from one part of the world to another part of the world. Obviously, if it is matching the compliance and the other standards of your organization and the government. But these all possibilities are now with just few clicks away when you are going to configure those things in your Azure portal. Keep this infrastructure in mind, and once you keep that, infrastructure as a service is allowing you to treat and use this infrastructure with your own control as a service. That's what the best understanding of infrastructure as a service. After this, we have platform as a service. In this case also, you're going to use those data centers and regions which are actually having the infrastructure located. But now, your pain is less. You don't need to manage the complex networking, security, and storage configurations. Microsoft is giving you one added layer on top of it, which is a platform. In this platform, they are providing you to manage your services and resources hosted on the cloud via some kind of a separate development tool or database management tools which are available on that platform. Like if you want to develop a .NET based application on Microsoft Azure Cloud, you don't need to manage server, operating system, or a .NET framework runtime. You can just ask for this configuration. Microsoft is going to provide that on that platform. For you, this platform is going to be pre-configured. All you have to do is you publish your code into that platform and your application will be up and running. For you, this platform as a service model is going to reduce your management configurational pain. Most of the things which you need to use will be coming there automatically, already pre-configured and set up. This provides you an environment for building, testing, deployment of your software applications without focusing on managing the underlying infrastructure. The last in this particular bucket is software as a service. And I think this is one of them which maybe you have already used without knowing that that's a cloud-based software as a service. If you have ever used Microsoft Office 365, emails of Outlook, or maybe OneDrive of Microsoft, or even sometimes Google Drive, if you have used all these softwares, then those are actually cloud-hosted software as a services. When you use OneDrive or Microsoft Office 365, these are already hosted on the cloud, which means you can use them as a user. You can connect to those applications over internet, and what you can do inside the software as a services, only those things which are available as a feature in that application. Like if I am going to use OneDrive, I can share the data, I can upload the data, and I can configure some kind of an access level management of the data in that OneDrive. Will I be able to see the physical infrastructure, hard drive, or network configured for that data? No. I cannot do that thing because that is provided to me as a software. This is like a third and the final layer which is available in this service. So when you are using software as a service, more or less, you're just an end user. That's what I always differentiate. That software as a service is mostly for the end users and customers. They are going to use this as an application or a software. Without having a knowledge of the cloud, you can still use software as a service. But if I talk about platform as a service, this is more for the tech-savvy person like a developer. And infrastructure as a service is something which is for the person who's already knowing in and out of your servers and networking and physical infrastructure, and then they are going to use those kind of services in Azure Cloud. Once we know all three kind of services, it is also important that you understand what are the shared responsibilities of the services, which means who's going to take control. Let's focus on that. We have a shared responsibility model which is defining that what kind of a control a cloud provider is going to have on these resources and what kind of a things they can manage, as well as what kind of control you will be having as a cloud user, and then what you can manage. As you can see in this diagram, the rightmost column in this is an on-premise, where everything is actually showing you navy blue. This is showing me that if it is an on-premise server, everything is going to be managed by customer. So customer is going to take care of everything in the on-premise server. They are responsible for everything and they have a control also. When you go to infrastructure as a service of the cloud, they are saying that in this case, you will be able to use the first all the layers of this infrastructure as a service, which is like you can be responsible for the information and the data which you are storing there, the devices which you are connecting with that, the accounts and identities and subscriptions which you are managing there, the identity and directory infrastructure, the applications which you are deploying there, the network control mechanism, or the operating system. Even the operating system is also going to be having your control. So you can install any applications and softwares which you need to install and configure inside that operating system. All the above layers which are appeared in this dark blue color is something which you can control. What you cannot control is your physical host, your physical network, and your physical data center. All the physical resources will not be managed by you, it will be managed by Microsoft. And that's the reason this is in the sky blue color, which is showing that this is going to be managed by Microsoft, not by you. Now they take care of these things and you take care of all the things which are hosted above that. If you're following platform as a service model, it is slightly more complex, but it is also slightly the one which is giving you little less control compared to infrastructure as a service. As you can see here, the operating system is in the blue color, which is sky blue, which means in all the platform as a services, the underlying operating system is not going to be managed by me. I cannot install any software applications in that operating system or runtimes in that operating system. If I'm using platform as a service, I need to choose it from the platform. Microsoft is going to configure it for me. I do not have a control over the operating system. I cannot even log into that operating system if I'm using platform as a service. But above this, information, data, devices, and accounts and identities are going to be managed by me fully as a customer. And then there are certain things in which we have to share the responsibility. When we talk about these three layers, which is identity and directory infrastructure, applications, and network control, you can see it is having both the colors in that, and which means some part of these things will be managed by Microsoft and some part of these things will be managed by us as a customer. And that is what the shared responsibility is coming into picture. Compared to infrastructure and platform, software as a service is obviously the one which is having the least control. So from your side, you're not going to have control on almost most of the things. Not even the application layer control is there, because application is also going to be pre-installed, configured, and deployed. You are just an end user there. So maybe some partial permissions on the identity and directory infrastructure will be given to you. And then you are going to manage only the information, data, devices, accounts, and identities onto that. All other underlying things will be managed by the cloud provider because you are using that service only as a software, as a separate application. When you go from on-premise to software as a service kind of a side, this is going to give you minimum control. So the maximum control is on on-premise, the minimum control is on software as a service, so control will be reduced. And it also going to reduce the efforts in managing those things. If I talk about cost right now, infrastructure as a service kind of services are more expensive compared to platform and software. Software as a service is going to be the cheapest one. Platform as a service is somewhere in between, and infrastructure as a service is going to be the most expensive one. In short, the more control you have to pay more for that. This is what we are going to see in the next slide also when we are comparing these three. So when we compare cloud service types which are there, infrastructure as a service is most flexible service. You can do whatever you want to do because you have maximum control. You can configure and manage hardware for your application also. Platform as a service is focusing on the application development and deployment and testing kind of thing. And this is going to provide a platform which is allowing you to manage whatever you want to do inside that, but that platform is managed by the cloud provider. The third one, which is a software as a service, is going to be an application or a software provided to you, which you're going to use mostly on the subscription model, pay-as-you-go model. And I have already given you the examples of those software as a services. With this, our first learning path is completed. You understood the concept of this 3 modules of this first learning path, and I strongly recommend after this, you are going to move forward to the knowledge check section. This is officially available on this links from Microsoft Learn website. I have shared the separate link, or if you go to the Microsoft Learn website learning path number 1, at the end of each module, you will get this kind of a knowledge check. Playing with this knowledge check and answering those multiple choice objective question is something which I always recommend to make sure that you understood the things correctly or not. If you have any questions after this, feel free to reach out to us. We are more than happy to help you. With this, your learning path number 1 is completed. Let's move to learning path number 2.